Okay. Bear with me one sec.
Yeah, we're live.
Got it. Good evening and welcome to the 575th episode of Travelage Radio. I'm Dan Schlossberg along with my friend and producer, Roger Noriega, and we're in the 13th season of Travelage Radio, the show that lets you enjoy the pleasures of travel from the comfort of your armchair.
Every week at this time, we talk to people representing destinations, hotels, airlines, railroads, car rental companies, and others in the world of travel and hospitality, from authors and bloggers to broadcasters and publicists. If it's got anything to do with travel, it's got everything to do with Travelage Radio.
Our guest today is Kelsey Perri of Rhodes Scholar. Welcome back, Kelsey, to Travelage Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back.
You've been on the show before, but before we get started today, can you just give us a quick overview of what Rhodes Scholar is?
Sure. So I like to describe Rhodes Scholar as the not-for-profit world leader in educational travel for older adults. So essentially what that means is we provide group trips for folks over 50. That's what I mean by older adults. The average age of our participant is 72, but we serve people in their 50s and people in their hundreds. Our programs are all across the US and around the world. They range from 4 days to 4 months. We offer a breadth of programming, but all of our programs have one thing in common, and that is that they are focused on learning. So when you come on our programs, when you come on our trips, you're not there to relax on a beach and read a book for a week. You are there to learn and to join other lifelong learners in doing so.
With over 90,000 travelers every year, you must really be able to see shifts in what programs are popular from year to year. Can you tell us what programs are trending for next year?
Yes, we actually just put together a list of top destinations that are trending for 2025. So there's been here in the U.S., San Francisco is growing in popularity, and internationally, Africa has been really popular, especially Namibia and Tanzania, as well as Peru. We have a new program coming out in Peru that doesn't go to Machu Picchu. All of our other programs right now go to Machu Picchu, so it's a great option for people who've maybe already done that and want to dive a little deeper into Peru. And then two sort of newly trending destinations, Greenland and Mongolia. Both of those have been in the media a lot recently, seeing an increase in interest. So we have some programs growing there as well.
How about national parks?
National parks have always, that's not necessarily something that's trending. They're always super popular for us. So yes, national parks are very, very popular.
What are some of the more popular destinations and why, and how much of a factor is the cost of a trip?
Yeah, so year over year, the destinations that are always popular for us, a lot of the destinations in Europe, especially Italy, France, and Ireland. Outside of Europe, I would say Costa Rica is number one for us. It's a great destination for solo travelers, especially. It's a great spot that's, lots of cultural immersion, lots of outdoor activities, but it's not too far. So it's easy to get to. You're not changing lots of into a majorly different time zone. So that's really great. Costa Rica is one of my favorite places I've ever been. So huge push for that for me. And then also, like you said, in the US, definitely national parks are absolutely our most popular. We also have a collection called Signature Cities, where you get to visit an iconic North American city, and you really dive deeply into that city. So you're in the same hotel in the same city for 5 nights and 6 days, and you really get to know the culture and the iconic destinations in that city, the cuisine, everything like that. So that's what's always kind of year over year really popular for us. And then you also asked about about cost and price. So we are a not-for-profit organization, so we don't have huge profit margins that are built into the cost of our programs. So that means that you're going to get the best value when you travel with us. Almost everything's included in the cost of our programs, from the hotels to most of the meals, the on-program transportation. You have a group leader who's with you the entire extent of the trip, handling all the logistics, making sure you are where you need to be. So the value of our programs is just really unmatched within the travel industry. But we also, we offer a huge range of programs to meet every traveler's needs. And so we have programs that start at $800 for a week and go up to the thousands when you're traveling internationally, and especially those longer programs. So you can go on our website and you can actually filter by price range if you're looking for something to match your budget. And I also will mention too that we offer scholarships and grants for those who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford our programs.
Did not know that. That's really good to hear.
Mhm.
What about the Azores? That's one of your new places, right?
The Azores we've had on our docket for a few years now, but it's become increasingly popular. We added 2 new programs there for the upcoming year for grandparents and grandkids, and for 3 generations for families as well. We've had 2 programs there for the last few years. One of them is a hiking program, and one of them is focused on vineyards and volcanoes. I know my colleague, who is our on-staff videographer, she's traveled to countless destinations with us, and she went to the Azores last year, and she said it was her favorite place she's ever been. She compared it to a mix of Hawaii, New Zealand, and Scotland. So if you can imagine what that might be like. But even though it's growing in popularity and we're hearing a lot about it in the tourism industry and in the media, she said it really still felt like you can go there and you feel like you have the whole island to yourself when there's no other travelers around. So it's like starting to get popular, but this is a really good time to go if you want to see it before it gets really overrun by tourists.
I'm picturing bagpipes and a luau. Okay, moving on. After the fires on Maui, speaking about Hawaii, many travelers want to see how well their recovery is going. Can Road Scholar participants check out Hawaii in 2025? Please share.
Absolutely. We have programs in Hawaii in 2025. We've continued to go there. Sometimes when things like the fires in Maui happen, we just need to reroute our itineraries so they can avoid some of those more hard-hit areas. But we were going to Hawaii on our programs very quickly after the fires. There was a lot of talk with our partners on the ground about the fact that the locals in Hawaii really needed that business, and they needed that support with our travelers going to visit. So again, if there's places like Lahaina that we need to avoid, we'll avoid those in hard hit areas. But we are still going to Hawaii, and you can definitely go there in 2025.
What about new and hot destinations that you're exploring in 2025?
Yeah, so I mentioned we talked about the Azores already. Also, I had mentioned very briefly Greenland and Mongolia. Those are 2 really kind of hot destinations we're hearing a lot about in the travel industry, and also here at Road Scholar. We added our first Mongolia only program last year, and it stays in tented gear camps. So you're staying in sort of like tented camps, which is really cool. I know with Mongolia, from what I've heard from our Trip Lab experts, is that it can be a little tricky to coordinate travel within Mongolia to Mongolia and within the country. But that's a really great reason to travel with an organization like Road Scholar, because we can handle all of those logistics for you. And then also I've heard a lot about Greenland. We've been going to Greenland for many years, but suddenly there seems to be really an uptick in interest for that destination, particularly from Americans. So I know the local cities and infrastructure there are really kind of bracing themselves for an uptick. We've added 2 new programs there, so we now have 4 total, and all of them spend some time in Greenland and some time in Canada. So yeah, those are probably the top 3. Azores, Mongolia, and Greenland are sort of the top trending destinations.
We're talking Road Scholar with Kelsey Perri.
What about Abruzzo, which is really off the beaten path? And I understand that that's in Italy, not in Greece. Is that correct, Kelsey?
That is true. Abruzzo is in Italy, and you pronounced it correctly. Very good. So something that we're hearing a lot about in the media is the issue of over tourism. We heard it really in Spain last year. There was lots of protests going on about over tourism, and so it's something that we've been thinking about for years. We've been aware of this becoming an issue. We always encourage folks to travel in outside of peak summer season. We offer the bulk of our program dates in the fall and lots of winter dates as well. But Abruzzo is one of those examples of really off the beaten path destinations that we're trying to add more and more of because of the issues with over tourism. So Abruzzo is one of those places where they don't get a ton of tourists. So you can go there and really get a great authentic interaction. You're meeting with Italians who don't get, swaths and swaths of Americans coming in all the time. So they're really excited to meet you and to teach you about their local culture and cuisine and everything like that. So that's a really great example. Abruzzo is part of our Hidden Villages collection. We do have an off the beaten path new program in Greece. We have another one, winter in Cielto, Italy next year, which is a place I hadn't even ever heard of. So, just examples of ways that we're trying to add in some lesser known destinations to what we offer.
In addition to that, we're also hearing Macedonia, Epirus, and the country of Georgia, places a typical traveler doesn't usually consider.
Yes, exactly. So in a lot of places, like in Greece, we will take you to the iconic destinations where that will really get people's attention, like Santorini and things like that. But then we'll take you to other like smaller islands that you may not have heard of. And people tell us again and again that those were really the most authentic and their favorite parts of the trips. And Georgia as well. It's yes, another example of a destination that's lesser known, a little more off the beaten path. You don't hear a lot of tourists going there, but it's got a lot of the same charms and amazing cuisine and history and culture as you'll find in other parts of Europe, but without the crowd. So I know someone actually personally who is one of our participants that just came back from that program, and it's very food and wine focused. So that's also kind of interesting. You don't think of Georgia, the country of Georgia, as being a food and wine destination, but it really is. So if that's something that you're interested in, that's a great kind of off the beaten path option.
That's good to know, but I have to ask. Dan is a massive fan of pickleball. I don't know why, but he wants to know, how does that fit into the Road Scholar schedule?
Oh yes, we have been tracking the popularity of pickleball over the past years, and we've actually had a pickleball program in North Carolina for a number of years, but it's become more and more popular. So we recently added 2 more pickleball programs, one in Canada and one in Washington State. And we would offer more if we could, but it's honestly tough to get court time because it's such a popular sport. So in all the places that we've tried, it's just we can't book more trips because we can't get the court time. So very popular, and they sell out really quickly. So if anyone's interested in pickleball, if you want to learn how to play, we get the pickleball pros out and they come and teach you how to hone the sport. So
That's cool. Appreciate that. I hear Road Scholar is planning to include West Africa in 2026 for the first time in a long time. I know you may have mentioned something about Africa, but this is West Africa. So,
yes,
which countries are included and why were they selected?
I went to fact check this before we hopped on here, and I don't even have access to the itinerary yet. So it's so new that it's not on the website, and I don't even have access to it. So I don't even know what destinations are in it. But yes, it's our first time in a long time in West Africa. So keep an eye out on our website. There's going to be some great new programs that coming out for 2026 that are going to be released starting in January.
On a side note, Kelsey, I apologize. Could you send me the link for the website so we could have it on our
Mhm.
ticker at the bottom of the screen?
Absolutely.
And of course, while you do that, COVID had a big impact on Road Scholar. What changes, if any, have you seen as we come further and further out of the pandemic?
Absolutely. I mean, we do travel for older adults, so it was really a double whammy for us. During the pandemic, we developed virtual programs, our online programs, and those have been very impactful for people. Even now that travel is kind of um, back in the swing of things, there's still lots of people who can't travel. So we're committed to offering those virtual programs long term. So that's something that has changed for us long term because of COVID. And also, I would say there's kind of some trends that came out of COVID that seem to kind of be here to stay. One is that people really seem to prefer smaller groups. So we're converting lots and lots of our programs to smaller groups to kind of accommodate that shift. The majority of our programs now are small group, which for us is a max of 24, but the average is even lower than that. We're also seeing fewer of our solo travelers who are willing to share a room with a stranger. We do have a roommate matching option for solo travelers to save a little bit and share a room with somebody, and we'll pair them with a roommate. And we're seeing less interest in that sticking around since COVID. So, and then maybe a little bit more of a temporary trend. The last 2 years, our international travel has really skyrocketed. So I think people have really been making up for lost time, really feeling like they're more comfortable traveling internationally and taking multiple trips to kind of catch up for the time that they lost.
I know you mentioned just a bit of this, but what trends are you seeing in travel? Because I know sustainability is a growing interest, but how about things like revenge travel? How does that come into play? And you mentioned small group travel as well.
Yeah, both of those I kind of just mentioned. So small group travel has definitely become more popular, and the interest people's interests are just leaning that way. We talk about revenge travel. It's exactly what I was saying about traveling internationally. Is just kind of making up for lost time after COVID, after you went through that period of not being able to travel. So I would say we're still seeing a little bit of that, but it's starting to slow down a little bit more. We're seeing our enrollments continue to increase, but the number of trips that people are taking per year is coming back down and sort of evening out to what it was before COVID. So that's starting to cool down a little bit, I would say. But definitely sustainability is something that's becoming more and more important for our travelers. We've been working on a sustainability initiative for years now, and we've been offsetting some of the carbon emissions created by our programs for over a year now. And we just hired a full-time sustainability manager who's working on efforts to make our programs more sustainable. So, and it's not just things like eliminating plastic on programs, but also making sure that our groups have a positive impact on the remote communities that we visit, and that we have responsible interactions with wildlife and things like that. So it's really a full-fledged sustainability initiative that we have going on.
Amazing that you've been working on that, and now countries like Spain are now bringing that to the fore, huh? That's crazy.
Mhm.
But head of the game, no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking Rhodes Scholar with Kelsey Perri.
Kelsey, with the holidays coming up quickly, what about solo travel? People who might be newly single, for example, but wanting to experience art and history.
Yes, we've offered holiday programs for years and years now, and we've actually seen an increase in the number of solo travelers joining us specifically on international programs over the holidays. So we have programs over Christmas, programs over New Year's in the US and around the world, some really great Christmas market programs, like you can go to Prague and visit the Christmas markets, some in nice warm spots like San Antonio and Savannah, Georgia. Or if you want a snowy place like Victoria or Quebec City, you can head there too. So, and there'll be a mix of couples and solo travelers on all those programs, but we are seeing a larger portion of those being solo travelers.
Are some Rhodes Scholar solo travelers just married people whose partners might not share their interest in a particular location or have the time to travel?
That is true. So we actually did a study last year and found that 60% of our solo travelers are actually married folks who are traveling without their spouses. And that's mostly women traveling without their husbands. And that number was really astounding to me. I had started to hear anecdotally a lot of women who were married and their husbands didn't want to travel with us. And so that's why I did that. I dug into that and did the study. But that number, 60%, really wowed me, because we do have a lot of widows and widowers and single people that travel with us. So I was surprised that it was that big of a percentage. And we asked them why their spouses don't travel with them. And the number one reason was because they're just not interested in travel. So it wasn't that they're busy, that they're not retired yet, or that they have health issues, but the number one reason was that they're just not interested in traveling. So I think it's really great that Rhodes Scholar offers an opportunity for those for those solo people who are married to travel and feel like they're safe. They still can get the camaraderie of being with a group and not have to be completely alone or independent. But they, have that opportunity to travel solo. So, and it also just makes me wonder what's wrong with these guys. Dan and Roger, tell me, why do you think across generations there are more women that travel solo than men? What do you think? What do you think that's about?
It depends on the baseball schedule.
Oh, for me, I'm in that situation. She just doesn't want to travel anymore. I
Okay, so
wish I
you're on the
knew what it
other
was.
side of the coin, yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to travel on my own now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Well,
really don't know. She's just not up to, some of it is health in my
yeah.
case, but just doesn't want to go anywhere anymore.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So I'm interested now to study more of the men who travel with us with spouses or the men who don't travel with us and figure out, well, how can we make this more enticing for you? Because our mission is to reach as many older adults as possible with the opportunities to travel. And so we want to understand how can we make it more enticing to you because we really truly believe in the benefits of travel and lifelong learning and we want to reach as many people as possible. So now I'm just interested in studying it a little bit more.
Hmm.
Kelsey, are we correct in saying that a road travel participant will never be alone? Everyone is part of a group, so please tell us whether there are limits to group size or age.
Yep, exactly. So even if you're a solo traveler, you're never alone when you're traveling with Road Scholar. And so the group sizes, as I mentioned, we're leaning more small groups. So the majority of our programs at this point are small group, which we consider a max of 24, although that is the average is usually a little bit lower. But that's really a range. We offer a range of different sizes as well. We have micro group programs, which are a max of 12. And then we also have some programs that are centered around festivals like the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta and the Rose Parade program. That one actually has over 400 people that go on it, but we just break them into smaller groups with different group leaders. So it never feels like you're with 400 people, but some of those that are around specific dates like that, we do have larger groups. And then as far as the age, so I mentioned we serve people over 50. The average age is 72. But as long as someone in your party is over 50, you can travel with them. So we see lots of adults in their 30s or their 40s traveling with their parents. And then we also do offer our grandparent programs for grandparents and grandkids, and then family programs for all three generations.
With senior travel a big deal because of discretionary income, how does Road Scholar accommodate people who have trouble walking, especially on rough terrain?
Yeah, so again, we offer such a range of programs because we want to serve as many older adults as possible. And a part of that is our activity level range. So you can actually filter on our website by activity level to find the right comfort level for you, what fits your mobility, and your abilities. And we do try to accommodate people with any mobility challenges that you might have or accessibility needs. So it just kind of depends on the destination. For example, I went to Quebec City with my mom on a program last year, and Quebec City is lots of cobblestones, lots of hills. So it's just really not a destination that you can go if you have a walker or a wheelchair and you're going to be able to get around very well. So it kind of just depends on the destination, but we try to accommodate people as much as possible. So you can just give us a call, let us know exactly what your needs are, and we'll find the right trip for you.
And we know Road Scholar tours have group leaders, but how are they chosen? And how are they people that work exclusively for Road Scholar, or do they have other jobs?
Yes, so we have our group leaders. Those are the people that are with the group, as I said, for the entire extent of the trip. So those folks are, they're well versed in the history and culture of the local area. They are locals as much as possible. We hire local group leaders so that you have that great authentic local interaction. They are people, they're people persons, however you want to say that. So they know how to offer great customer service and interact with people and make you feel really welcome and included. And they're super organized people. They keep the flow of the trip moving without a hitch. They work behind the scenes like a stage crew in a theater production. And they're also great problem solvers. So if you have any issues that might arise, as things do in travel, things happen. And so they're always there to help troubleshoot for things like that. And we have a team of group leader services team that recruits, hires, and trains our group leaders. And some of them do work for other companies, yes, and some of them work just for Road Scholar. It's kind of a mix. And many of them in different, especially international group leaders, have some sort of some sort of national certification based on the country that they're from.
Okay, this looks like a Road Scholar magazine, am I right?
Yes, that's one of our brochures.
Okay. If people want to get that, just roadscholar.org.
We do. You can go to roadscholar.org and click on request a catalog. You can choose which type of catalog you want to get depending on what kind of programs you're interested in. And yeah, the average age of our customer is 72. So we do still send lots of paper brochures in the mail, and people love to just be able to, page through them, put their little post-its in, tear out a page and put it on their fridge. So it's nice to still have something really tactile to have in your hands and to be able to browse. But everything, all of that information and more is on our website, which is roadscholar.org. And you can, as I said, if you click on Find an Adventure at the top of the page, you can filter all of our thousands of programs by activity level, by price, by destination, by what you want to learn about, everything like that. So if you're not really sure where to begin, because we do have lots to offer, those program filters are a great way to figure out which program is right for you.
By the way, that architectural tour in Chicago by boat was probably the best thing I did in Chicago. I loved it. I loved it. I've done it
Yes,
several
I've
times.
always wanted. I'm from Wisconsin, so I've been to Chicago many times, but that's one thing I've never done, and I really want to do.
It's like going to New York and never climbing the Empire State Building, same deal.
Yeah,
Which I always thought was the Empire State Building, not the Empire State Building.
of course.
Anyway, this is Travel with Radio with Dan Schlossberg and Roger Noriega. We're in our 13th season, approaching our 600th episode, which we will reach next year. We're live at 5 New York time every Thursday on LinkedIn, YouTube, WhatsApp, X, Twitter, Facebook, among others. And we're talking Road Scholar with Kelsey Perri.
As you know, Kelsey, Dan was fortunate to host a Road Scholar tour during baseball spring training in Florida 4 years ago. Does Road Scholar still offer sports-related tours, perhaps to educational places like the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Have our baseball programs back up and running. We do have some other sports programs like golf programs and, as I said, the pickleball programs, but unfortunately no baseball history programs back yet.
It's good to know. How far in advance do viewers need to sign up for Road Scholar trips this holiday season?
General, not just during the holidays, but with most of our programs, it's always good to book at least a few months in advance at the least. But our programs do sell out. So, if you know where you want to go and you know when you want to travel, I would say do not waste time, especially if you are a solo traveler, because solo space is limited and those always sell out first. So, especially if you're a solo traveler, I would say look at programs as soon as you know you want to travel, go ahead and look at it and enroll in a program. And we do have a wait list for participants as well if something is full, and you can sign up for that to try to get on if somebody cancels.
That's good to know. What are your peak and bargain seasons?
Yes, so I would say, peak travel season is summer, but we try to avoid that, as I said, to avoid over tourism and also the heat, especially with global warming and the overheating, especially in Europe, that we've heard about in recent seasons. So the fall is the most popular for us, but we also offer the most dates during fall to try to accommodate that demand. So that is the peak for us, but yeah, we have lots of dates during that time. And then if you're looking for a great deal, we have programs in the winter that is the most shoulder of the seasons. And we have a collection called Winter Inn programs. And it's those programs run from November to March, and they are primarily in the Mediterranean. So it's, a great time to go there because temperatures are still very mild, but it's not as busy and it's not as expensive. So that's when you can really get the best deal.
We briefly touched on this, but we're also seeing a lot of talk of in the media of over tourism. People are even protesting in major European cities because there are just too many tourists. Is that something that's affecting road scholars? And if so, how are you responding to it?
Yep, as I mentioned, it's something that our participants are concerned about. And so we have responded to that by offering more shoulder season dates, more shoulder season programs in the fall and spring, and especially in the winter, and looking for those programs in off the beaten path destinations, smaller cities. And those are great because you can really get a much deeper, authentic cultural interaction in some of those smaller cities. I'm thinking of in Italy, rather than going to, Rome or Florence, where it's really overrun with lots of tourists. So, and those are also great destinations if you've already been to somewhere like Rome or Florence and you want to try something different, but you want to go back to Italy. So, some of those off the beaten path destinations are really great.
I'm sure you've seen travelers' attitudes changing over the years.
Absolutely. I mean, there's more interest in sustainability, in being responsible travelers. As I said, smaller groups, that's something that's changed over the years. And just overall, really, just more interest in deep cultural experiences and local interactions. And that's something that has always been part of Rhodes Scholars programs, but we're seeing even a greater interest and an impact with those experiences for our participants. So when you travel with us, you're always going to get to meet locals. You're going to be able to go into their homes and on their farms and talk to them and learn from them. And those are the experiences that if you're just traveling independently, not with Rhodes Scholar, they're really difficult to find interactions like that and experiences. So that's another great reason to go with Rhodes Scholar.
I want to remind everyone watching, if you have any questions, fire them off in the chat room. We'll see if we can get to them. Ladies and gentlemen, we are having a conversation with Rhodes Scholar. We're talking Rhodes Scholar with Kelsey Perri. I'm sorry, Kelsey.
That's okay.
Kelsey, in addition to sustainability, also known as environmental tourism, how does Rhodes Scholar react to cultural immersion and respect, especially when going to places with indigenous populations?
Yep, as I mentioned, our cultural interactions is something that is part of our broader sustainability initiative across Rhodes Scholar that we're working on unrolling right now. This is something that's always really been a practice for us for years, but we're just at the point now we're making, really specific guidelines for all of our programs to make sure that it's consistent across everywhere that we travel in the whole world. But particularly, we have lots of great examples when we visit North American tribes, especially in the southwest of the US. It's something that's really of the utmost importance to us. We work with locals to be sure that we're representing them in a really authentic way and that our participants are getting to meet them and talk with them and learn from them, not just about their history and heritage from people who are not part of their culture. So that's really something that's always been important to us and has become even more so.
There are many hotspots on the globe, and we're not just talking climate change. Does Rhodes Scholar go to places where there are conflicts or even potential for conflicts?
Yeah, I mean, we had participants in Israel last fall when the war broke out. So we're still enrolling people in our Egypt and Jordan programs. We've seen, people want to back out of those. And so enrollments are not as high, but we are still taking groups there. So, we would never take participants to a place where we think that we can't serve them safely. But one of the great reasons to travel with Road Scholar, if you're traveling somewhere that, you're a little bit more nervous about traveling to, is that you're with the group, you're with Rhodes Scholar. We have locals on the ground who are keeping track of everything that's happening politically, geographically, with the weather and everything like that, and all the places that we're visiting. And if you are, out, I mean, things can happen anywhere when we travel now. You could be in Paris and something awful could happen. And so traveling with Rhodes Scholar is a great opportunity because we're always taking care of everything. We can reroute programs if something does go wrong. And if we need to get you out safely, we can always do that. So, I mean, we had tens of thousands of participants traveling when the travel ban hit in March 2020, and we got them all home within 48 hours. So, that's something that we take really seriously.
Do you consider Americans who sign up for Rhodes Scholar to be goodwill ambassadors for the United States?
Yes, I think definitely I would say that's true. People that travel with Road Scholar are all lifelong learners. They are they are very well educated. They are interested in travel and exploration through education. And so I think in general, they just happen to be very naturally good ambassadors for the United States when they're traveling, and they're very respectful and curious. That's what we hear from our group leaders and our instructors all the time, is that our participants ask the best questions. They're curious and they're open-minded. And so I think they serve as great ambassadors when they travel.
Are language, currency, and customs the three biggest problems in international travel?
I mean, I don't really think of those necessarily as problems. Again, these are great reasons to travel with Road Scholar. Things like, currency you don't even really have to worry about because everything you have paid for ahead of time and you can kind of just show up, maybe have some pocket change for souvenirs if you want that. And we don't see customs really being an issue for our participants. And when you're traveling with a group leader who speaks the language, that's a really great thing too. So for our travelers, we're not seeing those being issues.
And where does Road Scholar find its tour guides, and how does one apply to be a tour guide?
Yeah, so we have a group leader services team who we call our tour guides group leaders. And so we have a team who recruits and trains and hires those folks. So you can always reach out to us if you're interested in working with us. And there's a number of different ways that we recruit people all across the country and all around the world. So we have partners on the ground who know the locals and have connections. So they help us hire the group leaders as well.
Is there anything that we haven't asked you that you would like to add?
I don't think so. I guess one other thing that we didn't talk about is we talked a little bit about our solo travelers, but we have new programs exclusively for solo travelers that we are going to be deploying for the first time in 2025. So if you're someone who is a solo traveler, but you're a little nervous to go solo, that's a great way to try it because, you know, everybody else on the program is going to be in the same boat as you. And similarly, we also have all women's programs that we've been offering for a number of years that have become even more popular. And we've got lots of new women's only programs coming out for 2025 too. So keep an eye out for those.
How do Travel Witch Radio listeners learn more about Road Scholar, Kelsey?
Best way is to go to roadscholar.org, and that is ROAD scholar.org. And you can click on request a catalog if you would like to request a paper catalog or a brochure, or you can find all the information about our programs on our website. Click on Find an Adventure to start filtering through the programs and find the right one for you.
Our guest today has been Kelsey Perri of Road Scholar. Thank you so much for being our guest on Travel Witch Radio.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.
And this is the 50th anniversary of the home run that broke Babe Ruth's record for Hank Aaron. This is also your chance to share the excitement with my new biography, Home Run King, the remarkable record of Hank Aaron, as Roger is showing you the cover right now. Featuring a foreword by Dusty Baker, this 265-page hardcover explores Aaron's contributions both as an athlete and as an advocate for civil rights. That's Home Run King, the remarkable record of Hank Aaron. Get it today on Amazon.com. And that's it for this edition of Travel Witch Radio. Next week, same time, same place, same writer, we will wrap up our 2024 broadcast season with Wendy Hussey of Santa Ana, California. Now, this is Dan Schlossberg, along with my friend and producer, Roger Noriega, saying thank you for your time this time. Until next time, good night.